and YouTube. So today's session is actually going to deal with teaching of English in India. And luckily, I've been supported by my team today. You all can take rest, and I'll let you know when to come back. So first of all, I believe you all are able to hear me. Let me know if you can't hear. And yes, make sure you have a pen and a paper with you, because teaching of English in India, we're going to talk about certain very important things. Have you ever wondered this thing that teaching of English in India, it's something that is like language one, native speakers of language one, and how they learn language two, how they actually get influenced by language too. So we will talk about all these things, and before we go for this actual session, we will also take some 2-3 minutes time to let all the students join the session, and we can have some questions also. Along with this is one of my unique kind of experiments today. I am actually live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So first of all, we all know about Lord Macaulay. Why Lord Macaulay becomes one of the first person and a very important person who is related to English in India, the influence of English in India, the teaching of English in India. Because before Macaulay also, there were some people, they were talking about English education in India. It is said that in 1857, there were three strong hubs of teaching English in India: Madras, Calcutta, and the third most important one. Imagine, first one Madras, second one Calcutta. Can you imagine the third one? Now remember this thing, that most of the people will think it is Delhi. No, it's not Delhi. It's Madras, Calcutta, and the present day, do you know, at that time, Bombay, which was not actually Bombay at that time, Pune and that area. So why Delhi? Why Delhi was not the hub of English in India? Because if we talk about English in India in today's time, it automatically comes in our brain that Delhi is actually a hub of English higher education. So you will think that there were some three proper states dealing with English language, English teachings in India, and why Delhi is not one of them. See, remember this thing, that Delhi was actually governed by the Mughal emperors. And as they were being governed by Mughal emperors, they were actually in control of Urdu speaking people who supported Urdu. So Delhi was also the part of it, but not English. The Urdu education was allowed in Delhi. In Varanasi, English education was not allowed, but Sanskrit education was allowed in certain colleges. Then Hindu College in Calcutta was given the chances to teach English in India. But Lord Macaulay, when in 1835, in front of Governor General William Bentinck, when he actually presented his minutes on Indian English education, he said, I am giving you lakhs of money. He had a budget of lakhs of money. He said, take this money. I am leaving this money at your disposal. You take this money, but please do not invest this money for Arabic or Sanskrit literature. Macaulay was of the view that do not use this money for Arabic and Sanskrit teachings. He simply said that in any shelf of any English library, any book of English is far better, more worthy than the entire Arabic and Sanskrit literature. So he said that even people, those who are supporting Sanskrit literature, Arabic literature, and have studied English literature, they all know that it is English literature which is highly valuable, more important. He also says this thing that the Indians have a strong culture and we have to intrude that culture. And to intrude that culture, we must have an excess of the language. In the words of Gugiwo Thiong'o, the famous African writer, he simply says this thing, that the language is actually a medium to kill the culture. To kill any culture, you kill the language first. So that was the idea of Gugiwo Thiong'o. The same idea was actually used by Macaulay. Macaulay said that the Indians have a strong culture, a strong, cultural roots, religious practices, and we must kill that connection. The language is the soul of any culture. So now in present time, what are the methods of teaching of English in India? What are the barriers, the problems? For example, contrastive rhetoric, sandwich technique. We're going to talk about these things. F. Skinner's behaviorism. We'll also talk about Braj Kacharu's three different circles, the inner circle, the outer circle, the extended circle. So make sure you have pen and paper. And yes, some of you may feel disoriented because if I'm not looking at you, actually I'm looking at three different devices. So this device is Facebook Live, this device is YouTube Live, that device is Instagram Live, and I actually wanted to go live on two more channels, but because of the lack of devices and lack of tripods, I couldn't do that. So let's get back to the topic. So according to Guguya Thiong'o, as we know that the language is the first barrier to kill the culture. Now, in present scenario, we simply know that English language is actually a kind of compulsion. English language सीखना, पढ़ना, पढ़ाना. It's actually, has become a compulsion in India. How many of you have watched Hindi medium movie? There was a movie of Irfan, Hindi medium. How many of you have watched it? कितने लोगों ने मूवी देखी है हिंदी मीडियम? आई एम गेटिंग रिप्लाईज. कुछ लोगों ने लिखा भी है यस सर. In Hindi medium, there is the heroine's famous dialogue. She says that in India, English is not a language, it's a class. English in India is a class. Now just think, if you're from a small town, think about the advertisements related to teaching of English, spoken English in India. What kind of advertisements you came in contact with? आपने जो advertisements देखे हैं, English in India, English teaching, spoken centers, become a foreigner in 90 days, learn how to speak in English in 90 days. What kind of actual, what kind of actual target is, how they promote English language, how they promote, the teaching of English. If you remember the Indian concept of teaching English in India, the spoken centers talk about your fear, the fear of rejection. Their promotions are like this: that are you scared of people? You don't feel confident? You want to talk to girls? You want to impress girls? You want to impress your boss? You want to become a good, handsome talk of the group? Learn English. आज ही अंग्रेजी सीखिए. How English is connected to all these things? Why it is said that you're not getting married? Learn English. You feel ashamed of something? Learn English. English is just a language. Why they don't promote it like this, that it's just a language? Let's learn it's just a language. Because that's the concept. We are the third world countries and we have been taught like this. If 200 people or maybe 100 people, they come in your contact, ask them, why don't you speak in English? You know what will be their answer? They will say that we do not find environment. We don't get environment. What kind of environment you want? They will say that nobody around us speaks in English, and if we try to speak in English, we get controlled, cursed, hated. How many of you remember the famous dialogues? If you're English literature students, obviously you must have heard this thing. You must have faced it. अंग्रेज चले गए, औलादे छोड़ गए. सुना है आपने? किसी ने कहा होगा that you are a Britisher and the Britishers have left and left their kids here. आप अंग्रेजी बोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, ज़्यादा अंग्रेज बन रहे हो. That all comes in the concept of contrastive rhetoric. So now let's talk about the theoretical details. Language 1 is the native language. Now please remember this point, that the native language is called language 1, also known as the mother language. How many of you can actually say that you have a mother language? Now you will say the language spoken by mother is your mother language. Well, that looks very easy, but actual definition of mother language is the language spoken by your first family, your parents, your surroundings, and uninterrupted learnings. So that is from 0 to 8 years. So 0 to 8 years you are learning your mother language. That's how it becomes your mother language. ये आपकी mother language तब बनती है when you are actually learning, and it's from 0 to 8 years. In certain cases, if you find that the first language that has been interrupted, For example, somebody, the baby was born, baby was of 2 years, and the family had to leave India and go to America. So within 2 years, the baby had to go through a different language. Then after 2 years, the family again shifted to India or some other country. So if a baby finds it out that there are multiple troubles in the first language, his L1, like native language, is actually weaker one. Now, when you introduce L2, L2 is language 2, which is in India's case, it is English. There are some issues which actually appear. L2 introduced to L1. So teaching language English to Indians, what are the themes related to it? What are the ideas? The first thing, there was a question and exam, ELT, English language teaching. That is an umbrella term. ELT. इसको note कर लेना. ELT is the basic term for English language teaching. It got divided in two different parts, IELTS, TOEFL. Though there are some other parts also like GRE, nanny, and other details like BE, business English, ESP, English for specific purpose. That has also been asked in exam. Make sure you remember that. There are certain ways of learning. So people started experimenting in these techniques. The first one was ELT, English language teaching, the multiple methods related to it. Direct method, indirect method, grammar translation method, GTM, then sandwich techniques and other techniques, behaviorism and all. But when we talk about the sub branches of ELT, we find it out. Its first one, IELTS. IELTS is one of the most important sub branch. Most of you must be knowing there are some coaching classes that teach IELTS, and then you go to foreign countries, you go abroad. So that is International English Language Testing System. You must know the full form. International English Language Testing System. Then we have TOEFL, Teaching of English as Foreign Language, TOEFL. Then we have ESP, English for Specific Purpose. Do you know this thing that special English is also a phrase? Special English. Special English is actually a kind of organized structure of English where we have 1500 plus words, approx 1500 registered organized words which are used by world media channels. Imagine this thing in Haryana. In the skies of Haryana, two aircrafts clashed in it. They all collided and they both fell down and all got killed. When the committee started inspecting the reasons behind this air crash in the skies of Haryana, they found that the people, those who were communicating, were not good in English. Imagine. So people, those who were flying the flight, the foreign flyers, were not that good in English because they were also from third world country and they could not connect from the airspace traffic was guiding them. The airspace managers, they were guiding them, directing them, but they couldn't connect because of the gap in English. Now imagine this thing, how army people from army background, they speak in English. Have you ever wondered that the slips written by doctors are actually easily understood by the medicos? When your doctor writes a purchie to you, you take that doctor's purchie and you go to that medical shop. He reads it, he understands it, you don't understand it. Why? Because in every particular sector, there are certain words, vocabs which are immediately required, and a proper training of those things is also the part of English. The news speak, the police speak are the languages developed like this. One of the other examples, we have Globish English by Jean Paul Nere. Then around we have basic English, around 821 words by C.K. Ogden, I. Richards. That particular English is used in China's elementary school. See, when you start learning language 2 and it is introduced to the people of language 1, there are multiple methods to introduce. One of the famous example is by Noam Chomsky, the linguist. He developed an idea called the universal grammar. Question of net exam. ये सब net में आए हुए questions है. Universal grammar. Universal grammar was like that you don't have to become an expert of grammar. You simply have to go through certain important fields to learn to speak the required words. Now I'll ask you a question. Suppose right now somebody takes you to England. All of a sudden Somebody takes you to England. Now you are in England. Suppose you don't know English, all you know is the basic words. Will you die of hunger or you will survive? क्या आप खाना खाओगे वहां पे in London, in England, because you don't know English, or you will die because you can't speak? Now you will say, sir, we will. How? Because you can speak food, hungry. You can also use physical gestures. You can show people, I want food, food. So technically, to survive in any given context of English language background, all you need is some selected words. And simply, C.K. Ogden and I.A. Richards came with 821 words, later expanded to 850. And that was implemented in China's schools, preliminary schools of China. We have threshold English, again some number of words. We have nuclear English, 1,000+ words. So all of these words, these developments were, actually created to let people understand English in an easy way. Like basic English has been asked in exam, universal grammar has been asked in exam. Now the question comes that what are the issues, what are the troubles in implementing language 2 to language 1? You are the speaker of language 1 and the teacher of language 2. The English teachers are teaching you. What kind of understanding we need? We must understand that the background of the learners, the language 1 speaker, the native language speakers, the background, the gender, the mindset, the culture, all has a base, a basic influence, a very important influence. Is it easy that some teacher comes to teach in English and you start learning in English? Is it so easy? That some teacher has to teach in a village, in a rural surrounding, and all the kids who have never been introduced to English, they come and a teacher comes and starts teaching directly. It's so easy. No, it's not that easy. Psychological behavior works. In many of our cultures, learning English is not taken in a positive way. If you're not from metropolitan city, if you're from a small town, small village, and there are some people, they believe that you have left your nativity, you have left your identity, you don't respect Sanskrit, you don't respect Hindi, you people are westernized people, you want to become like them. There are people, they speak like this. बहुत सारे लोग आपको कहते हैं ना कि अरे अंग्रेज बनेगा, क्या अंग्रेज बनना है? You want to become like them, you can't respect your own language. This thing. Remember, we are the people who used to believe that crossing the ocean is actually crossing the religious limit, and then you have done an immoral activity. समुद्र पार करके जाना मतलब धर्म से बाहर होना. The famous greatest mathematician Srinivas Ramanujan, when he died, people didn't come to cremate him. They were of the view that Ramanujan went to some Oxford University, Royal Society, London, and he has crossed ocean, so he is an immoral person. Government had to come and intervene. So government came that and told people that he's a great man. So when we have rigidness, some orthodox families won't allow you to learn English because they think, like in orthodox families, if the girls are learning English, their mind will become more, modern, more broad mind. So maybe some families don't want you to do that. So in short, the contrastive rhetoric actually studies the problems that the language one speaker comes from multiple mindset. Like some of you have written that I want to speak in English, but I don't found surroundings. That is also the problem. Gender issues. Girls speak better English than boys. Now, then again, it's the part of study. Then mindset. Some of us take English as a language, but most of us want to speak English because achieving English is something, big for them. Big for them. There's like they think if you speak in English, we have a status. We speak in English, we are impressive. So that mindset. So L2's teacher, when teaching L1, language 1, he has to go through all these things. And in the words of F. Skinner, questions, and these are also the questions of NET exam. In the words of F. Skinner, the concept of behaviorism, a teacher of language 2 must understand the behavior of L1 speakers, language 1 speakers, because those who are not comfortable in an alien language, we must make them comfortable. And how you make them comfortable? How a teacher can make you comfortable? By having an sympathy and empathy for you. I myself was a net aspirant, so I totally understand your pressure. I myself used to study and wonder why I'm not able to remember things. I can connect. I myself used to fear the exam. So I have an understanding. I can simply connect. When you come to me, you say, "Sir, we have read this much, we forgot all." I can connect. But suppose it's a village area, children hardly get to eat, children hardly, they are suffering from poverty, and we have an Oxford educated English teacher, the one who doesn't even know about the culture. Can we say that the Oxford educated teacher who can teach real good English can connect to the students in the class? Because there is the need of study, behaviorism. The other concept of teaching English, one of the methods which are related to direct method, is sandwich technique. Please write down these things. ये लिख लेना दोस्तों. Sandwich technique. What is sandwich? We all have tried it. We all have eaten. So if we talk about the morning breakfast sandwich, the bread, two slices of the bread, and what lies in between? Potato. ये एग्जाम्पल याद रखना, ये जस्ट याद रखना एग्जाम्पल. How to teach language 2, like English, to language 1 speaker, Hindi language speaker, suppose. When you come to the class and it's a village classroom that students have never learned anything in English, you ask them, stand up. You come to the class, you say stand up. Now the students are like this, oh, what is stand up? We don't know what is stand up. So what do? You say stand up and you repeat in a Hindi word. You say khade ho jao. Stand up, khade ho jao. And then again you go for stand up. Now they understand because you said stand up, they didn't understand it, but you caused curiosity. They become curious that sir is saying something. You said stand up, they looked at you, and then you translated it and you said khade ho jao. So they started, getting up, and again you repeated stand up. So this is the direct method, also known as sandwich technique. They are understanding it. They are connecting it. Now, why I connected it to bread? Because bread is not Indian. What Indian is? Potato. Aloo. ये कोई English literature का reference नहीं. This is not a reference by some writer. This is Vineet Pandey style. Bread, potato. Desi, native. So if they ask you whether it is L1, L1, L2 or L2, L2, L1, so remember this is language 2, then immediate translation language 1, then language 2. So both are foreign things. The bread are foreign things, and the native thing is potato. So make sure याद रखना ये sandwich technique है, भूलना नहीं. This is Vineet Pandey style. इसके बाद चलते हैं next point. When we are actually communicating to the language 1 speakers, and we are the people with language 2, and we have to teach them what other methods are required, what are the important things. We have like input hypothesis, filter hypothesis. Make sure you remember that. Stephen Krashen is one of the famous writer. He has talked about 5 kind of hypothesis: teacher oriented hypothesis, monitor oriented, then input oriented hypothesis, filter oriented hypothesis. All of these theses are like that. When you actually make sure that you're teaching what you're providing them, a teacher must keep an eye on his students. That is monitor hypothesis. The input you are sharing with your students, whether the input is reaching to them or not, that is input hypothesis. Then we have filter hypothesis, that certain words, certain things which are required, which are not required. Then affective hypothesis, when you teach them, what is the reaction of those students? Like if I am teaching you, so some of you are learning it, some of you are busy, maybe some of you are outside trying to watch it in a metro, watch it in a bus. So how I'm communicating and what you are understanding. And then natural hypothesis, the natural interaction of the teacher, the learner. These hypotheses are also the part of it. Then some people, just like N.S. Prabhu from India. N.S. Prabhu, the professor in Bangalore, he came with an idea called TBLL, task-based language learning. TBLL. We have to give a task to the students. How? Just ask them to write an essay on anything. Our best friends, then on a railway station scene, your favorite cricketer, That is called TBLL. It's a question that has been asked in exam by N.S. Prabhu, professor in Bengaluru. TBLL, task-based language learning. Along with this, we have CLT, communicative language teaching. CLT, communicative language teaching. So what is that? In our CBSE schools in India, CBSE schools in India, communicative language teaching is we teach English in English. How many of you have studied in CBSE? Think about yourself. When you entered in CBSE, especially the small town students, when they were taken to the CBSE schools in 6th class, in 7th class, maybe in 10th class. So when your father paid money, fees, did the teachers come to you and start giving you a bridge course, a development course from Hindi to English? Or from the next day, you were simply allowed to come to school and join the curriculum in English? So that actually happened. You paid the fees, you were coming from the Hindi background, but there was no connection between Hindi and English. Nobody tried to help you. And from next day, you became the part of that curriculum. All of a sudden, your teachers came to the class, it was your first class, you joined English medium school to learn English, but your teachers came to the class and taught everything in English. You couldn't understand. You went to the prayers were going on in English, and you know what the kids do there. They do mumbling. They don't even understand what prayer is going on. They do lip sync. Why? Because all of a sudden you were picked from a Hindi medium background, dropped in English medium background, and nobody tried to give you a connection, a bridge. That is what's happening in Indian CBSE schools. Communicative language teaching. The target language is English, and how they are teaching target language in English. They are not even asking whether you are understanding or not, and it is somewhere is a great injustice. It is actually an injustice to the students who do not come from Hindi English speaking background but actually join CBSE schools. CBSE also has launched Computer Assisted Language Learning System, CALL, Computer Assisted Language Learning System, that has also been launched by CBSE schools so that you can learn, prepare, and can work on your English language. Along with these things, we also know that the 3 different circles by Braj Kachru. Have you ever wondered about this thing, that English in global scenario as a globish language? See, many of you must be hearing the names of N.S. Prabhu, Braj Kachru for the first time, Stephen Krashen hypothesis first time, Robert Kaplan's contrastive rhetoric for the first time. But these are the basic things of net JRF. All of these questions have been asked. ये net JRF के बहुत basic question है. So if you are not preparing accordingly, make sure you change your preparation strategy. बहुत basic चीज है. Braj Kachru talks about 3 circles of English in world scenario. The basic circle. The basic circle where the norms were provided. So norms providing circle. Who started English? How English got started? What are the countries that started English? Internal circle, the basic circle. England, Ireland, America. They are the first countries who actually provided English. Then the second circle comes to you. The second circle is the internal circle, external circle, outer circle. Outer circle is the countries where English was given, English was launched, English was imposed, and they developed it. India, other third world countries, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Kenya, all of the colonies. Make sure you remember that internal, external. Now see, the third one is expanded circle, extended circle. These countries do not need English. Neither they were the slaves of England, nor they were imposed English language. So they are simply the countries with their own language, and they also have English. But it is not their primary language. They are not fascinated with English language. Russia, China, European countries, Japan, they have their strong economy. They were not enslaved by any English person, and they do not have English as their second language. They do not give so much hype to English as a second language. Now see how English is actually working in India. how English is actually working in India. The role of English in India as Pedgin. One of the famous speeches by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was that English is a major window to the Western world. Jawaharlal Nehru said this thing that we actually need English. It's a major window to the Western world. We need it because we open the window, we look at the West. So he said that we have to be connected with the West. But the point is how English works as a pedgin in India. When you go to Kerala, you are from Delhi, you are from Kashmir, you go to Kerala. How do you speak to people? Do you start speaking Hindi or Malayali? Though some of them are good in Hindi, but it is the English language that makes you confident and you know you can speak. So, English in India has actually worked as a bridge. Many students must be unaware of these things, that what is the government's language of India? What is the official language of India? Ask yourself, what is the official language of India? English. It's not Hindi. Hindi is spoken by 46% in India. English is spoken by 3% only, but English is the language of official use in India, also called the lingua franca. The lingua franca means the language of official use. ये सब नाम लिख लेना. All the proceedings of Supreme Court takes place in English. सारी proceedings जो है Supreme Court की English में होती हैं. And along with this thing, your first paper of NET exam, your paper 1 in NET exam, you know what happens in your paper 1? They provide you the Hindi side and the English side, and the instructions. It is written that if you find any problem in Hindi side, the English side will be taken as the final question. If you find any issue in a question you're not able to understand in Hindi, then we will take English version as the final version. Isn't it an insult to Indians? Indians, Indian languages, and we have to trust English language. And isn't it a big injustice to South Indian students, to Northeast Indian students? Why it's English got translated only in Hindi? Why not it's in Malayalam? Why not it's in Telugu? Why not it's in some Northeastern language? Because the Northeasterns, the South Indians, they are neither good in English nor in Hindi. I'm just talking about exceptional cases. Some people think that if you are from South, you are damn good in English. No, it's not like that. So what if a student is weak in English and equally weak in Hindi? Then imagine this thing that we speak in Hindi. So there should have been that if you find any problem in English, trust your language, trust your Hindi language. But they are saying, nay, 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 nay. If you don't find Hindi, trust English language. We are typically colonized. Gugiwa Thiong'o said this thing that the English departments in Indian universities are actually working as agents. हमें वो agents बन के हमें colonize कर रहे हैं. That's one of the famous writer Namwar Singh. He wrote Decolonizing the Indian Mind. Now the concept of register. Register is a particular language used in a particular coded context. Now I'm teaching you. So this is my library, it's my home. But even in my home, I'm playing the role of a teacher. And as I'm teaching you as a teacher, my language is actually programmed, controlled. I'm speaking in English, taking the words which are actually meaningful and canonical in this context. I am not talking to you in slang language. I'm not talking to you in some, bad mannered way or something genuine that we all are best friends. No. So, but this is not the way I talk to my best friend. This is not the way I talk to my family members. So when you actually speak in certain contexts, and then you actually have a set pattern of speaking, that pattern of speaking is called register. The way you talk to your family member, the way you talk to your boss are two different way of talking. Then comes the concept of dialect and language. There is a famous line. Language is a dialect which has an army and a navy. This will be the homework for all of you. ये आपका homework है. Let's see how many of you are taking this lecture seriously. This is your homework. Just write down in comment box. If you're a new student also, don't worry, just write down those things. I will read all the comments. Those who have liked this session, we are available. I'm available on 85870 Contact us, and in next session, the joint session, I will answer this question along with the other parts. I will teach you all the commissions, Sadler Commission, Radhaswamy Commission, then other important things like the Sergeant report or other reports. So till then, thank you so much. If you have loved the session on Facebook, on Instagram, share it with everyone. लोगों को साथ share कीजिएगा, उनको अच्छा लगेगा. चलो, then take care. One by one, I'll switch it off. Okay. Bye bye Facebook family. Bye bye YouTube family.